Hello. Now we're going to talk about three freedoms. We can call these three kinds of freedom from the bondage of karma, but three freedoms. And we gradually move through these three freedoms in three freedoms. That's a tongue twister. We move through three freedoms of karma in our journey of living in and going beyond karma. The first stage, the first freedom that we gradually, none of this happens quickly, but the first freedom that we gradually gain is freedom from the bondage of karma. Now this is not freedom from bondage of samskaras, it's freedom from bondage of karma. What does that mean? As you know, karma refers to our actions. Many of us have many silly habits that we live in the external world, and we know it. We have certain mental habits, and we kind of know that. Some of our habits we're not too clear about, but we all know that we have some habits. In this journey of yoga inward, this going beyond karma, all the levels of karma, the first thing that we start to notice is that we increasingly become able to not live out in our actions and speech certain habits that we used to do. Maybe there was a way in which you used to behave with friends and coworkers, or particularly spouses. We see this. And maybe there's some habit patterns you used to have, some speech patterns that you used to say a certain kind of maybe not quite so friendly comment. And gradually through the journey of yoga and karma yoga, you gradually observe, wow, I'm not talking quite that way so much anymore. I'm not behaving quite that way. I'm being a little bit more warm-hearted than I used to be. You may not even tell other people about it, or other people may notice in you that says, something's changing about you. What's going on with you? Well, those are our actions that are changing. And actions means both behaviors and speech. It's not just the stuff we're doing, but it's the way we communicate in words and body language. All of that starts to shift a little. That's the beginnings of the freedom from the bondage of karma. Freedom from the bondage of necessarily out of habit playing things out in that certain way. That's one of the first things we start to notice. The second freedom that gradually comes on this journey is the freedom from the bondage of thought. This does not mean that there's anything wrong with thinking. It doesn't mean that I have to stop thinking. We all need critical thinking skills to be able to solve personal problems in life, and our world has some problems, and maybe we can all in our own way contribute to solutions. This is not anti-thinking, but in terms of the ability to deal with those thought processes that are going on that are usually behind the karma, behind the actions and speech, gradually we notice that our inner thinking process is getting gentler. It's getting kinder and softer in alignment with the karmas that we're playing out that are lessening. So there was a little bit of freedom from the bondage. Bondage means necessarily out of habit playing out. So first is freedom, some degree of freedom from bondage of the karma of the actions. Then comes a degree of increasing freedom from the underlying thinking process. That means at meditation times, it starts to get easier and easier to have your mind be quiet. Instead of, for example, at the end of the day, you go in your home and you say, I think I'm going to have a little bit of meditation for a while. I'm going to be quiet. And you sit down, and for a while you sit down to be quiet. And what is your mind doing? It's just jabbering constantly, re-scripting the conversations you are having at work during the day. And tomorrow I'm going to tell him blah, blah, blah. And the mind is going on like that. Or your mind is sitting there worrying about stuff going on. Or maybe it's really beating up on yourself, and I'm no good, and I'm lazy, and I don't know what am I going to do, and I'm confused, and I'm sad, and I'm depressed, and stuff minds do like that. And gradually that starts to let up. So those are the first two freedoms that we start to get a taste of. First, again, is the freedom from the bondage of karma, of the actions and speech itself that are going out there. Second is the comings of freedom from the bondage of thought. The third freedom, which we'll talk more about as we go through this whole thing, this whole course together, is freedom from the bondage of avidya. Avidya, vidya means knowing of truth, means knowing your true, ever pure, ever clean, ever gentle and calm and quiet center of consciousness. That's called vidya. That level of knowing doesn't mean intellectual knowledge, as nice as that is. It means knowing in direct experience that. Avidya means, when you put a in front of it, means not. It means not knowing. So avidya can be translated as ignorance. It means not knowing. It means not remembering the truth of my true nature. And so this is a form of bondage. Because of the avidya, because of the not seeing clearly, then I take on all of these thought patterns, and because of those thought patterns, it leads me towards certain kinds of habits of actions and speech out in the world. So the avidya leads to bondage of thinking, and the bondage of thinking leads to bondage of karma. We're reversing that process slowly, gently over time, and we start to, again, get glimpses of freedom from the bondage of karma. Not perfectly so, but glimpses of freedom from the bondage of karma. Then gently freedom from the bondage of my thinking process, and then we start to have glimpses of freedom from the bondage of the avidya, or ignorance itself. And it all happens slowly and gently through our processes of dealing with awakening, called karma yoga. We're calling here living in and going beyond karma. Karma yoga, an aspect of yoga. 3 bondages, 3 freedoms, 3 freedoms from the bondage of karma, thought, and avidya. Okay? Just remember them. Maybe make a note. And enjoy this journey that we're on together, okay? And have fun with it. Play. Do it sincerely, but do it gently and lovingly, softly, playfully. Okay? Thank you. See you soon. And another little reminder, as you go through the course, even right here, remember at the bottom of each video, there is a Q&A button that Udemy puts there. Use that Q&A button. If you want to make a comment, make a comment. If you want to pose a question, pose a question. We will go through there. We keep an eye on these things and we'll respond. We try to respond same day, but if not, it won't be long and we will respond to you. Or any comment whatsoever. Okay? Thank you again. Enjoy this journey together.